Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Andromeda class here for Star Trek. We have a couple different versions of this, and we are going to go with one from the Advanced Starship Design Bureau. Seen on the expanded universe for Star Trek from the fandom, the Andromeda class was a type of Federation starship used in the 24th century, classified as an explorer from the Star Trek Encyclopedia. The class prototype, the USS Andromeda, launched in 2362, shared many design elements with contemporary starship designs, most notably the Galaxy class. The Andromeda class was also one of the few starship designs to utilize a three warp nacelle design. Now, this is coming from the Lug role playing game Starship Recognition Manual, Volume 1, Ships of Starfleet, which I do have, but I never even thought about looking over at it. Now, this is where things kind of go a little, I mean, get a little different here. So, for what they have proposed, it was a ship that was 412.75 meters long, 273 meters wide, and 154 meters tall, going at a max warp of 9.6. We have six Type 10 phaser arrays, four photon torpedo launchers, and a crew of 635. Let's see, and then there's no extra real background to it here from the expanding universe. I didn't grab anything from the lug book because I did do a look on this, and this is where I came up with. Where I originally found this is from the Advanced Design Bureau here. And then we will go. All right, so going from the Advanced Design Bureau, now this is an Explorer craft class with a length of 349 meters, a beam of 167 meters, and a height of 66 meters. They've got it listed as having a crew of 289, and it was commissioned in 2365, which I think is the same as what we had listed on the other one. From their write up here, the first commissioned in 2364, the explorers of the Andromeda class were precursors to the Intrepid class in many ways. They have served with distinction on the Federation's frontiers for the past decade. There was a recent attempt at the Intrepid style refit of the class along with an altered hull color scheme. The prototype featured variable geometry warp nacelles, each shorter engine containing fewer but more advanced warp coils, as was found with the retrofitted Excelsior class, the USS Lakota. Performance was greatly improved, but the prohibitively expensive version of it. It would use more resources to retrofit a good number of the Andromeda class starships than it would actually create a small number of Intrepid classes already in production. So really, it just comes down to, is it worth really retrofitting the Andromeda to make it like the Intrepid, or just kind of discontinue it and then just start producing the Intrepid, which is where things had kind of gone. Now, that's what they had gone to on the Advanced Design Bureau. So their original design sketches, we have the main shuttle bay in the back on the top, um, aft torpedo launchers sitting up here. A unique shuttle design for the shuttle bays is we have the port starboard. We have two small shuttle bays with front kind of launch bays here. So you actually have a fly through area so you can stop in, load, unload, do whatever you need to do, and then you can take off again, and that works out fairly well. Um, Otherwise, it's got a very contemporary design look to it, and it does fit very well for a Star Trek universe. Let's see. Now we have the CAD design, which is what we have posted up here for my D6 stats. Has a nice view on the side, the top down, and a front view of the ship. And then let's see here. Then we just have a nice ventral view. This is a hand-drawn belly view of the whole ship. And then, of course, we get our class patch, which they had done very nicely, which is one of the reasons why I kind of liked having the Advanced Design Bureau website for a resource. Now, some of their earlier design sketches and everything else kind of changed this all up a little bit. Do we go more of a saucer, more of an arrowhead? Um, just going from there until they had kind of come up with a hand drawn version of what we have, a CAD version of it, and then some 3D models. So they've really gone through and done some really good work into it, which is why I kind of like their website and to be able to take it and say, hey, let's get some actual game stats here so we can put it into an actual role playing game. Nothing's more flattering than seeing your design actually being used in a game sense or in actually more importantly in an actual episode. Okay, now, the design here is from Jason, finalized by Bernard here. 3D models by Rob Kavas, and patch is by Chris. And they deserve all the credit that they can get for doing all of this. So now let's look at our D6 stats and see what I've come up with. All right, so Federation Andromeda class. Name is on Andromeda class here. This is a United Federation of Planets Explorer. So, being at capital scale, taking the length from the Advanced Design Bureau of 349 meters long, 167 meters wide, and 66 meters tall. Uh, Gives us roughly a mass of 53 or 533,400 metric tons, if I can only come up with all that. Now, when I'm getting this for the ones I'm actually coming up with the stats for, like this, I'm trying to find another ship that's fairly close. And I think the ship I found was like some 400 meters long, roughly height wise, wasn't too far different. And then I just kind of scale that mass back a little bit to try and make sure it fits roughly. Not saying it's going to be an exact, but just roughly there. This does put us at roughly a size 6 starship. We do have an autopilot of 3D plus 1. Of course, we have our crew of 289. Taking a rough guess here, um, and my guess usually comes out to being like a tenth of that for a skeleton crew. So if we ran this with a skeleton crew of 30 with a plus 10 to all of our skill rolls, we could get this to operate at least for a short time. Passengers 63. The ship that I grabbed that from, I think had like some 80 or something like that. I figured 63 should kind of fit in here. Cargo capacity, same thing, taken from a larger ship and just kind of scaling it down. So that gives us 58,000 metric tons of cargo. We have enough consumables here for about 3 years. In our warp drive. Now, this is coming actually more from, and you'll see a lot more of this, more from the Jaeger class. Okay, looking at the Jaeger and grabbing from there because I didn't want this to be as good as what the Intrepid class was. I want this to be a little bit less than, as it's a progressionary step. That's why I grabbed from there. So with the warp drive being at a warp 6 for our standard, warp 9 for our max, warp 9.55 for our max rated for about 12 hours. Maneuverability does put us at roughly about a plus 2. Space speed from the Intrepid, which trying to keep this all roughly in scale, is a 9. Our hull is a 2D plus 2, and our shields is a 1D plus 2. Now, the Jaeger actually had a higher hull and shields. I kind of modified it. Keep trying to keep this, like I said, all in line as a progressionary step. Now, our sensors being the same as the Jaeger, uh, and actually the Intrepid having the same sensor palette here. So passively, we can scan out to 4 kilometers at a 1D bonus, a active scan out to 12 kilometers with a 1D plus 2 bonus, an active search out to 15 kilometers at a 2D bonus, and a focus out to 500 meters with a 2D plus 1 bonus. Now, the Intrepid actually has better bonuses here. Again, and I'm going to sound like a repetitive horse, just mantra here, wanting to make sure that it has that progressive step up is why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Now, instead of having the Type 10, I have 5 Type 8 phaser arrays. Let's see. And we're going to have a rate of fire of 2 and a damage of 3D. So that means that we can fire twice per array at 3D damage. Let's see. Then when I did this, I obviously messed something up here. This is our photon torpedo launcher, which I butchered all that. Nope, because that's supposed to have been out of here. Trying to work on this on the fly while I'm busy with everything else, and I'm trying to get all this set up correctly. So I apologize. All right, so then we have two other Type 8 phaser arrays, 180 degrees forward, fire rate of 1, damage of 3D. Then we finally get to our photon torpedo launchers. Let's see, move this up here real quick so it all bashes. Okay. Forward and ventral, crew of 1, or actually this is only got listed as 1, so it doesn't have 2, just the 1. Actually, we probably should have forward and, but it's where we have it. Spread of 8, we have 40 missiles or torpedoes on board, 4D per torpedo. But now we can shoot 8 at one time, so that is kind of devastating. Of course, we have our 2 class Delta tractor beams, same as what we've kind of seen before. And then we also have our class Alpha tractor beam for our shuttle bay. Now our miscellaneous, if I've done the math on this, which I'm not saying I'm going to be perfect, but hopefully I have this all correct. Now our crew quarters, we should have 230 basic crew quarters, 80 expanded, 35 luxury, and 7 unusual. That should come up with fitting everybody on board. We have 13 decks on this ship. We have 14 escape pods with a capacity of 4 per escape pod. It was commissioned in 2373, which I think I have wrong because I think that that's actually from the Jaeger class, and we're supposed to have 2365. So let's get that corrected here. 65. All right. Now we do have the 3 transporters, 3 emergency transporters with an 18-person capacity, 2 cargo transporters with a 4-person or 400 kilogram capacity. We have enough room for 6 shuttlecraft, 3 shuttle pods, and 40 probes, rounding everything off. So, with that being said, an interesting ship. It's not a 3 nacelle version, but it is still an interesting version nonetheless. With that, I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's always great having you here, and I will see you in the next video.